Gentrification is important. It's a problem that should be solved. People say they're working on it, but they're really not at all. I hear the sound of gentrification occurring, the sound of people crying. It's always so hard to fight, but it's up to us to start defying. Gentrification is separation leading to the annihilation of the desegregation. People on their knees, people in despair, the government tries to help, but they really don't care. Women, children, all over the world, don't you think it hurts to see homeless boys and girls? We're all the same, we're all equal. In my eyes, gentrification is illegal. Here we are, united we stand. Even though it hurts, I know we all can.
Gentrification, open to everybody.
Define gentrification?
Yeah.
Well, I think gentrification can be, it's two different things.
I guess I've heard that term a lot. I guess it goes to the idea that, like, cultural appropriation, in the sense that, like, a lot of different, these ethnic neighborhoods, I guess, are kind of being, I don't want to say, like, maybe, like, they're being, like, in a sense, like, invaded or something, or kind of taken over, right, and kind of being culturally appropriated and not really given, like, the full value of what they mean.
It starts with, I think, businesses coming into an area that is affordable, being successful, and as a result of their success, having rents go up, making it more difficult for middle class and lower income people to stay in that neighborhood. That's what I see as gentrification.
In this neighborhood.
So
Yeah, it happened in this neighborhood too.
yeah, unfortunately, that house, this house down here.
It tends to be when a neighborhood is under-resourced and the residents don't have enough money, and then people from outside that area come in and buy up the real estate. The real estate gets more expensive. The people from the area can no longer afford to live there, etc.
Venture capitalists. They showed up like in the early 90s. If you want to do homework on how this gentrification stuff actually begins, it really starts there. It's the loaning process that comes from the banks. These handsome people go around actually crippling cities for a long time.
Gentrification occurs when the government and private businesses force people out of their homes because they cannot afford raising rents and housing costs. When wealthier people who are most often white, predominantly white, want to move into urban areas, the government, landowners, and developers fix up the area and raise rents so that the poorer people of color who originally lived there can no longer afford their homes.
People are forced out of their homes through foreclosure and other processes. People who are more fortunate move into the homes. With the population shifts, the neighborhood begins to change. The people who got pushed out of their homes often end up homeless or have to go to a shelter or move to another area away from their community. This process is called gentrification.
Actually do not. Yeah, but I'd love to know.
I do know a little bit of the area's history. I know that, I'm trying to remember, I had a student who was doing a documentary on gentrification in the area.
I do not actually.
I know that the neighborhood, I know that like the north side of College Hill used to be a black neighborhood. I think this one used to be more Portuguese. I could be wrong, and that it gentrified kind of starting in that neighborhood started in the 60s. I forget when this started. I think maybe in the 90s gentrification happened, but I don't know the history that well.
Do anything about the area's history? Not really, other than the guy that wrote Star Spangled Banner or something, or Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Well, back when I first moved here, this was Cape Verdean and Azorean, and now it's college students. So I used to know everybody in the neighborhood. 25 years ago, I literally knew everybody in the neighborhood. I knew all the people that lived in those two houses. Now it's student housing, so every 8 or 9 months, I guess. Every 10 months it changes. So I don't know anybody anymore.
The Cape Verdeans immigrated to Fox Point in the 1860s to the 1960s. They developed a Cape Verdean community, opened businesses, and made families. Eventually, the city government put money into the community and modified homes because they said the community was a rundown. But really, they wanted the Cape Verdeans to leave. Starting in the 1960s, the urban renewal projects and the expansions of Brown University led to the rising of the rents in Fox Point. Richer people began to move into the area and kicked out Cape Verdeans who lived there since they could no longer afford rent. This is an example of gentrification affecting people and how they live. After being forced out, the Cape Verdeans were spread around Providence. Today, Fox Point is mostly white people. In 2015, Fox Point residents had a median income of $52,955, while the median household income of Providence overall was $39,015, which shows us that today people who lived in Fox Point make more money than the average Providence resident. Also, the median rent is higher in Fox Point than Providence overall. The population in Fox Point now was wealthier people.
Here we are at B2P. We're going to take you on a stroll down Hope Street to Wickenden Street.
Let's go.
So if you keep walking straight, you'll eventually hit like Wickenden Street, so you're going to have to take a left.
And here we are on Wickenden Street.
Our first location is going to be Cape Verdean bus stop.
So at this bus stop there is a memorial to the Cape Verdeans that once lived in Providence, but there is nothing that mentions the gentrification that occurred. So it doesn't talk about them getting forced out, it just talks about the fact that they were once here.
The second stop is going to be the shop, the coffee shop.
And the shop is a coffee shop that really emblemizes gentrification. It has a lot of people who are oftentimes sitting outside, predominantly white people. We got a little turned around, but here we are. Here is the shop. And it's definitely a newer part of Wickenden Street.
The third place we'll be going to is houses that look similar to the past ones, but a bit nicer.
So while the buildings themselves are the same, there's been a lot of remodeling and repainting as the new population has come in. Now we're going to stroll down the street. We see some construction going on, lots of restaurants, stores, pubs.
Now we're gonna reach the coffee exchange store that used to be a funeral home.
So Coffee Exchange was once a house, then it was turned into a funeral home, and now it's a coffee shop, showing the changes that have happened.
Wickenden Street is very historical. It has drastically changed by the gentrification and gentrifiers.
Breaking news from Providence, Rhode Island. It's Fantastic Family 4 News.
Good afternoon, B2B. I'm Cindy from Family 4.
And I'm Abigail from Family 4.
And today we have breaking news.
Today's breaking news is gentrification.
A storm of gentrification has been going on for years. Abigail, you should tell them what gentrification is.
Gentrification is when people of lower socioeconomic status get pushed out of their neighborhoods because wealthier, often white people move in and rent rise.
The details of gentrification, like how much it costs to move into a neighborhood, are different today than they were in the 1960s. But gentrification still occurs.
So, gentrification is still going on because the government isn't doing enough to stop it.
In Providence, gentrification is occurring in areas such as Cranston Street, Broad Street, and Elmwood Avenue. Houses are being torn down to build new ones.
What can we do to stop it?
That's a great question.
What if we could go to someone like the government and express our struggles with gentrification?
But just just one person, I don't think that would help the situation as much.
You're right. I guess that means that we should gather people together to try and fix the situation.
Then it's settled.
And then that's it for today, folks. Family 4 out.
Think of home, what it means to you. Home is where you're protected, but gentrification is taking that protection away. Gentrification is like the darkness and the light, and there is always a way to fight the darkness, so why can't we fight against gentrification?
Gentrification matters because it affects everyone around us. What would you do if you were alone in the dark, cold night with only a cardboard to comfort you? Well, losing your home to gentrification looks like this. We need to fight against gentrification because it's not just the government's future, it's our future.
Stop gentrification because people lose their homes and memories they make in that community.
There are many ways you can get involved in the fight against gentrification. You can make a video to educate people about gentrification. You can organize your friends and families to post against gentrification at the State House. You can read about gentrification on blogs, or you can teach others about gentrification through posting on social media. You can support the original local businesses in your neighborhood so that they can stay in business and do not get pushed out by larger companies. Also, you can get involved in direct action for rights and equality tenant and homeowners associations. This group fights against gentrification and foreclosure. You can reach out to DARE's Tenant and Homeowners Association to seek help if you or someone else you know is facing foreclosure or eviction. Contact Christopher Rotundo.
Now that we understand each other, it's time we all join together in unity to stand firm against certain societies. We as people have the right to defend our property, including our home, regardless of our race and income. There are many helpless people out there who can't do it all alone, so how about we join them to protect our homes? I've seen this happen with my own eyes, but now it's about time gentrification and discrimination come to an end.
Stop.
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 Stop. Stop.
Stop gentrification.
I got my city doing front flips. When everybody made a rapper jump ship. I guess that's why they call it where I stay. Clean up the streets so my daughter girl somewhere to play.